Once upon a time there was a man. He heard that there was this Licha, an evil spirit. He had never seen it. It didn't feel right. He decided to find Licha. This is a self-portrait of today. Boys go to the war, and their mothers buy bulletproof vests for them. I'm horrified. Who is my audience? You tell me these mothers will come to see my Kostik or Seryoja show. All these subtleties and nuances that our life, our achievements consisted of, all this has been barbarically zeroed out. He rushed into his lockhouse, bleeding out, and shouted, "Goodness, that's great, I saw Licha." My son tells me, "This is evil, Dad. Evil." How long have you been to America? I came here on the 25th of February. And if now I will say home, where is your home? It's in Moscow, of course. Do you understand Irina well from the Three Sisters when she says we'll never go to Moscow? I always understood her. With my students, we had a semester dedicated to Chekhov, and one of the students got angry with me that I kept saying Chekhov, Chekhov, and he said, "I don't get Chekhov, where Chekhov is and where I am." And then, when he fled to Georgia, right after the war, before mobilization started, I'm actually very proud of him, and 5 students of mine left right away, and girls too. When he was in Georgia and I asked him, "Do you understand what Chekhov is about?" He said, "Yeah, I got it." I always thought, why can't you go to Moscow, just buy a ticket? I can go to Moscow too. What do you mean to go? To do what? Well, since home is there. It is home, but I can't work there. And every day I play back this story, and sadly, I find more arguments that it's useless. So my sleepers are still there, and a person who is taking care of our apartment tells me that the sleepers are still there, and the sleepers, it's funny, are made in the shape of tanks, and these 2 tanks are waiting for me there, so I can't work. The farther away you are from the country, is your pain less? Not yet. I'm watching myself and watching this. On the contrary, it's worse, and I hope it's not going to be like that, because it's very hard to endure. But so far, this is how it is. Dmitri Krymov, director. What dreams do you see in your sleep? I actually wrote down a couple of dreams and I thought maybe making shows out of them, but it's very difficult to show dreams on stage, how to do it. Maybe you just have to go on stage and explain what's going on, that this person cannot be there, this person should be over here, and things just don't come together that easily, but in dreams they're okay. Before the war I had a very strange dream. It was horrifying. I don't want it to come true. I am in my apartment. We live at the Pushkin Square, and I can see Елисеевский grocery store from my window. And then I see these planes that are flying very low. It was after some parade. They're right above our apartment building. There are like 5 of them, and flying very low. And I thought that if they throw just an empty bottle from there, it's going to be very scary. And I thought they're flying way too low. And then I see them throwing bombs. And they hit the Eliseev store. And what I see through the window, it is ruins from my window. I come closer to the window and I can tell that this is a screen right in the frame of the window, and they're making a movie. And this is on the screen, this is what they show, and around it you have monitors, and the whole thing is illusion. And some Russian pop star is singing there. Thank God I didn't dream about Gazmanov, one of those pop stars. And it was something really kitschish. And then I thought to myself, why scare me so much? And it was very horrifying. It's Yeliseyevsky store in Tverskaya Street. And there was another dream. I'm somewhere at a train station, and I have to go somewhere. And director Serebrennikov was there, and I understand that I don't have a ticket. So I'm sitting there with my briefcase, and I'm looking at some papers. I don't have a ticket, and Serebrennikov left, and I don't know where to go, and I feel at a loss. Your most frequent emotion today is to be at a loss? It's a good question. It's a mix. It is a depression. Depression because it turned out to be so easy, or it seems so easy. To wipe off your life, your business, your love, your parents who lived before you, before my parents, starting with Stanislavski. What's Stanislavski's system you're talking about if they bomb Kharkov? What's Stanislavski's system? It's like, look for good in a bad person, but hey, they just, I can't curse here, but they're just destroying everything. So all these subtleties, all these nuances that our life consisted of, our achievements and achievements of people who worked before us, all this turns out to be completely zeroed out barbarically, because the evil that we've heard about from the fairy tales, this evil that lived in the cave and was kidnapping girls, is now out in the open. Painter Goya has a similar picture to this in his painting The Sleep of Reason Produces Monsters. So this evil is out in the open. And my son tells me, Dad, this is evil. And when evil is out there, and it turned out to be so horrible, people didn't even expect it like this, because they thought it's fairy tales. But it is reality. It's even worse because it's happening now. And you feel this disgust, because it smells terrible. It is so barbarically ugly, crooked, strong, and at the same time it is the colossus with feet of clay. It's so freakish, and then you think, is it really the devil? Is it really evil? And you have this feeling of like yuck. And this thing turns human being into minced meat. Disgust, literally disgust. Disgust at person's weaknesses, who has to tolerate it, who is saying, how can I go? It's my home, my stuff, where I'm supposed to run. It's pity and disgust. It's a complex mix. And also anger. Anger, not powerlessness though. I would put it this way, it's a surprise. And surprise like this. Is it really powerlessness? And of course I want to scream no. No, because I want to make a new show, and it seems it's a tiny little feather comparing to a huge pile of horse shit. And even this is better than we see now, because horse shit is at least a fertilizer. But it seems that nobody is talking about war here. It's beautiful, peaceful life. People are lying on the lawn and are happy, sunbathing. Well, they don't have to think about it, because when we didn't have mobilization and Moscow seemed like a blossoming city and everybody was walking around, going to restaurants, it was summer. So, and this is horrible, and that's scary. It's probably the scariest thing that's happening after the slaughter of civilians at the beginning of the war. This is scary, and this produces an utter pessimism. And you're trying to avoid this thinking because you don't know how this country is going to live on if it is so prone to this entertainments. But what do you think people should do? Why are you provoking me to such answers that if I say something, then I will think that I won't be able to come to the country, to Russia, with this government in power, and then next government too. Well, look at the trash bins. That can be modern art, and you'll be looking at them. Why it's art? But somebody will explain it to you that green and gray with two black beans, it's so great because this and that. Ekaterina Gordeeva, Dmitri Krymov. Do you think often about your father? Every day. He's from Kharkov, right? Yes, every day and many times. What ties did your family have with Kharkov? Nothing. None. My father didn't like to recall his childhood. I think we visited Kharkov in 2015 or 2016, and people who remembered his show, they put a memory plaque on the house where he lived. And when I was at Kharkov, I saw this little house. Yeah, he kind of cut it off from his memories. Why? I never asked him. What did he tell you about the wartime? Nothing. He was young. He was probably 16 when the war started, right? No, he didn't tell me anything. His adult life began when he was admitted to Gittes Theater School, and there he met my mother, and then he was directing shows, but before that, never. And I was little, and I never felt asking him about his childhood. Maybe there was nothing in his childhood or youth that worth sharing. Why did you allow them to remove your name from your shows posters? And you didn't stop them from playing your shows in Moscow. First of all, nobody asked me. They just removed shows, some shows, and they removed my name from the posters. I have 9 shows in Moscow. Somebody told me that probably I can be in Guinness Book, having 9 shows in Moscow, and often there were 2 shows on one day. And I was actually surprised that you always visit your shows. Long ago, I stopped doing this because it's impossible. No time for that. At some point, it was common for me to visit shows. I mean, there were different companies of actors now, and there are many of them, and I didn't visit them for a while. I could say that I disagree, and then they would remove the show from the repertory. There are great actors in this show. You're talking about Serezha, right? Yes. I remember how much I respected Anatoly Belый, who did this, who left Russia, just like Chulpan Khamatova. He actually explained why he left. She explained it in the interview with you, and I actually respected her even more. For me, she's like this Greek heroine, and he answered for men. And now he's replaced by Konstantin Khabensky in this show. Is it right that the role was written for Khabensky? No, I just wrote the role, and Khabensky didn't want to play it back then, and now when this happened, Khabensky took the role and played it, and he played it very well. How do you know? He sent me a video. Can you tell it by the video? Exactly like mathematician can tell something by the formula. You know, my favorite joke lately, Einstein comes to God and says, "May I look at the formula of the universe?" And God says, "Yes, please." God moves the curtain, and on the blackboard you can see this huge formula, and Einstein is looking at the formula for an hour, and then he says, "There is an error right there." And God says, "Yeah, I know." So I can tell where is error in my show, and there are no errors there. Actually, Konstantin Khabensky managed to add something to the show, something personal that was quite unexpected from me, and he introduced himself to the show on his own, and my comments were really minor, and I was pleasantly surprised how well he did that. So I'm not concerned with the past shows, I'm actually concerned with the future shows, how they will be. Will I guess the today's formula right? So, and if it's an error in it, so it should be a small one and on the side somehow. How many shows did you do for the last year? 4 shows. Which of them you miss the most? I miss the shows that we just started. It was a great idea to stage a show in the Moscow. It was supposed to be Dickens. We had a great company: Masha Smolnikova, Konstantin Khabensky, Tinikova, girl and a boy who are still school students, and Anatoly Belый, and Olga Voronina. We had just one rehearsal. I had this idea and I brought them together. I got really excited, but this is what I missed, so everything collapsed. And actually, I am missing staff entrance of the Moscow Theater. It's like you're touching history when you walk through it. And I always had this feeling when Khabensky invited me. I came there and I had this great feeling, a sort of chocolate feeling. In Pushkin Theater we started doing Uncle Vanya. In Fomenko Theater we started doing Russian fairy tales together with Tsiganov. I launched 5 shows. Do you feel that the war interrupted your flight too? Yeah, for some time, yes. There is this painful feeling. But when I see how they interrupted flights, literally, of other people in a horrifying way, so I wouldn't complain. I want to open this lab here, no matter what, so that they would know that they cannot interrupt it. They were not those who started it, and they're not going to stop it. It's not in their power. So I just want to prove that. That's the purpose of what I'm doing. Or maybe it's stubbornness, and stubbornness in sort of engine. Do you speak to your actors? Because you have your actors in Moscow, right? Yes. Yes, I have one actress, Masha Smolnikova. Yes, I spoke to her. Was it a difficult conversation? It wasn't simple. She interrupted me so that I wouldn't speak with her about such things, because she is state and she knows better how to live there. Was she like a student for you? No, I don't actually perceive her as my student, because when she takes part in my next work and she comes to the rehearsal, I immediately have this confidence that we'll do it. Because sometimes you fear that you might not make it, but when she comes, then I feel like we're together, we're like back to back, we're taking up defense. I have all these military metaphors. And how did you meet her? I think she was on the second year in the group that myself and Kamenkovich were master teachers of. And I invited her to play in the show Death of the Giraffe. I had this show, and since then we never parted, and more than 10 years we worked together. It took her a while to get used to this style, and she always thought that real life is somewhere else, and this type of work is more like a transitional, until she finally got used to it and loved it as her own. And when I left the theater, she stayed in the theater, and it was a great drama for her. You're talking about the School of Dramatic Art, yes, Vasiliev Theater. How she works there now, I don't know. I can't really help her. I don't know. I don't know how to help her. She was in many shows in the theater, and those roles were just great. Sometimes they're not quite big, but yet the work she does is really jewel, and she has all this together, harmony and disharmony. She comes up with such things that I already know that I shouldn't say no right away, like kind of saying, Masha, you crazy. But if even I say that, I know that soon I'm going to say, let's try it. At the Moscow Art, she climbed on the balcony to break the lamp there. You can't really touch a wall in the Moscow Art. It's so historic and it's all preserved. But then when she said that, I thought, maybe we should. Let's try it. She climbed there, she did it. And if you see it, when she's climbing, she's not even touching the wall. But we had to go through all these Moscow Art engineering red tapes to get it done. Then in the caustic show, when she rides away on the wolf, she came up with this idea. Let me ride a wolf from the audience. What wolf, I said, and then I thought, maybe there is something in it. A wolf comes with burning eyes, and when she gets on it, I showed caustic to my American actors here, and I thought, oh my God. I was trying to explain it to them, what it is, this Kuznetsov picture, Ivan Prince on the wolf, and they don't get this symbol, but they have kind of a rougher perception of it, but I saw their eyes when they were watching it. Nina, Kostya, don't tell Trigorin that I was here. I love him even more. And put away my slippers. So many people. I think that bombed hit her artistic resources in a sense. She's in her prime, and not having roles, it's just terrible. And not making shows with her is just barbaric. To have such a gem in your pocket and not to show it. And how she's living there, I don't know. Maybe somebody will do something with her, but I'm not there and I can't do it, and she cannot go where I can be. If I brought her and Chulpan together, they would do such a great thing. Why she can do it? Well, because she will have to say that she's against the war, and then she won't be able to return. That's why she can't leave. Many things changed because of mobilization and stuff. But when you're asking, I don't know what to tell you, because I can't snoop into her life, and I can't bring her here and say there is a beautiful warm place here and let's do it here. Well, she decided not to do it, and well, that's the way, that's how she wants it. I don't know. I see that a great actress may be lost, and many shows that she played, they took him off the rap. Question 1. Where are they? What happened to them? Who remembers? Who can tell us? Where? Who? Question 2. Don't you remember what families look alike? Question 3. What do happy families resemble? Question 4. Which family is unhappy in its own way? Question 5. How unhappy is every unhappy family? Do you understand these people who love their country and their home so much and they can't leave? I understand them. Well, this question is not valid for me now, but I do understand them very well, very well. And I wouldn't want to leave. For me, it was always kind of fixation, a fear that I might need to go someday. No, I never. No, 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 no. Just as long as we have this interview, I can keep saying no, no, no. And each no will be filled with such a pain that you can't stop me. What is motherland for you? Motherland is when you walk on the ground. I have this memory. They bought me some nice sneakers, and I was walking on the asphalt, and through the sole of the sneakers I felt little cracks on the asphalt, and it's such a pleasure when you actually feel where you're growing from. When I was at home, I never turned on my head. It's kind of funny, and I always worked with my intuition, because whatever you throw on the ground, in the soil, the seed, your ideas, they grow. In some other place, you may throw whatever, anything. You can put there a palm tree, it won't grow. It can't. It will be very beautiful. You grow it, then you put it in a flower pot and put it there. You know, like in offices on the 9th floor, you can see a palm tree, but it's not growing from the ground, right? But at home, everything you do, they just grow. It grows from the soil. It's not on the 9th floor. It's right from this soil. And I know what is in that soil. It's not only my father and mother, there are lots of other things, good and bad, and I know all of them. Not everything I know, but I always learn something new. What is in it? And from this, you feed your imagination. And here, I feed it with what I know from home. When people come and say, we see such a great imagination, so we want to do it the same way, but I tell them, so that's going to be a palm tree, but it's going to be a cut palm tree. Well, prompt me something, help me, let's do it together. When we were doing cherry orchard, and I gave them different zones for improvisation. I came up with this method, and they improvised with their own experience, with their own life. For example, there was a scene when Ranevskaya and Lopakhin talk, and Lopakhin says, I can't deal with you, you're like children. And she says, well, stay. We'll come up with something. And he, what? And she says, let's play volleyball. Let's play volleyball. And Lopakhin goes, okay, fine, let's play volleyball. I don't know what to do. And I say to the actor, tell us, what is volleyball for you, for your family? Come up with 15 bullet points from the history of the United States that I don't know well. And tell us how worse it can be if you didn't play volleyball. And she started telling this story, how some of her nephews went to World War I and how one of them lost their fingers. I didn't even ask them to translate it for me, because I knew that she is looking for these things that are from their history, say like cookie crumbs in the pocket, that they know. My husband started drinking, we stopped playing volleyball, the ball was lost, Grisha drowned, and my husband died, and I left. The end of the scene. Right, great. And now we will play volleyball. And they play volleyball beautifully. And that was their zone. It was their zone of improvisation. I didn't know them, so I gave them this opportunity to drill a hole in the ground, and I used the soil that they got from the borehole and I put it in the show. I would never do it because I don't know these things. I just allow them to do that. It's a kind of type of making a show with their own words. So now these words are their words. So they help me to be planted in this soil too. This is motherland. So it's kind of a long answer to your question what motherland is. In some places in Moscow you can't move me away from. I have the right to be there because on that corner, when I was in 4th grade, I looked at my window and I saw my grandmother who was waving me like this, and I waved her back. So you can't kick me out of there. And the houses are different, and there is no my grandmother, and I'm different, but you can't kick me out from there. So like I came to Kharkov, and I never saw this house. It's kind of a small house, lousy house. But I came 1 hour before the opening of the plaque. I sat on the bench and I asked people to leave me alone there, and here it got me. I could have easily sat there for more than an hour. Because something just got me. So that's motherland. Kharkov is not my home, but that's motherland. When you actually feel the soil, life stirs in the lungs of earth and fate. What kind of words is this? It's kind of stupid words, but this is the feeling of motherland. And the whole idea of Stanislavski is I am. So you have to feel that you have the right to be here. That's it. The whole system is for this. All these circles of awareness, through line, and other things. For you to be here, that I am. I have the right to be here. This is what the life is for. A little boy or a girl, they don't have a sense of motherland because they didn't live yet. And the sense of motherland shows up at a certain point in life. At least for a second, did you have this conversation with yourself? That you can have at least a couple of compromises, or just keep silent for some time, and everything will be as it should be fine. No, I don't think so. I don't... See, even now, I'm not quite open with you. And actually, I warned you about this, and there are different reasons for that. If I decided to do that, we were in Israel. There was this forum Slovanova, and Alla Pugacheva, this Russian pop star, was there, and I don't know her, but I was told this story by the people who know her. She was in the elevator, and she was looking at the sliding doors, and she was saying out loud, as soon as you're gonna touch my husband, I will begin to talk. Just watch me. You see? She said that. What has to happen so that you would start talking? I don't want to speculate on that. Why? People say so many things, and the right things, and I can sign them. But I don't want to join the choir. I'm in a different area. Let's talk about art, because what? Why to repeat things that are clear anyway? I would like to talk about your show Seryoja. I saw that last show where Anatoly Belly played, and I don't think that the audience knew that this is his last show before he left Russia, but it was something in it, and it was very difficult to watch. But somehow you felt that this boy, Seryoja, is not a subject of this story. He's an object that does not participate in anything, is not engaged in anything. So there was the idea of this show. Everything started with this. I thought, in the middle, I'll have Seryoja's room. Vronsky will be on one side and Karenina on the other side, and she will be running from one to another, kind of catching the moment when Seryoja is not there anymore, or he's brushing his teeth, and trying to do everything to avoid seeing him. Then it changed, but that was the first idea. The idea to physiologize the sin related to the child, and then you mix Anna Karenina with Life and Fate by Vasily Grossman, and there is this great monologue when she asks about her son. She gave her son away to the war. Seryoja, wait. Who are you? Where is Seryoja? Where is Seryoja? Who am I? Rolling captions. Vasily Grossman. Life and Fate. Chapter 33.
Мать умершего лейтенанта принял комиссар госпиталя батальона комиссар Шуманский.
Battalion Commander Shumansky, head of the hospital, received the mother of the dead lieutenant. He was a handsome man with a Polish accent. Irina, my wife, she was absolutely against this mix, and many people didn't like it, and they were kind of saying, why to do it this way, and it's just enough what we have, and it's way too intellectual. She's my critic. But recently she told me, how did you guess? You're so right. So in other words, this is grown-up Seryoja. It's 100 years later, this woman was caught with all those sins, and it doesn't matter if it's Karenina or Strum's wife. This is a woman that didn't manage to raise her child. It doesn't matter it's 100 years. This woman is the same type as Karenina. She sinned differently, but what she did, she gave her son to her husband, and I think this boy wasn't Strum's son, it was from her first marriage. So when she married Strum, she thought Strum didn't like Toля, so and she gave her son away. She chose her husband over her son. It's her next reincarnation. It's like a refrain that a Russian woman between her husband and son chooses her husband. And now it looks really tragic, because now when boys go to the war and their mothers buy bulletproof vests for them, what's happening now is beyond my understanding. And here I'm ready to break down and cry, because I may say some words now, and they will shut down this Seryoja show. So what kind of nation is this that mothers send their children to this unjust war? They wave them goodbye and they bless them. So it's like, where's this audience? Where is my audience? These mothers, they'll come to see Caustic show or Seryoja show. It's a type of discovery to me, or like they opened up these gateways, or maybe they removed these blueprints and we thought there is something drawn on it, but it's like nothing, and they were swinging in the wind, and now they're gone. And I just don't understand how they give their sons away. I don't understand how they can do that, why they do this. Are they crazy? It's like because they watch TV, so, and there is this devil in TV, and it impacts them through this. I read books about it, but I can't get it. Because I don't watch it, maybe. Somebody told me there is this effect. This person told me that he watched TV, and then maybe it's truth. There is this effect. Hell knows. Something happened to the people. Something that those psychics, Chumak and Kashpirovsky, through TV, they were healing people. And now people get sick from TV. Is it TV or something else? I don't know. I don't have an answer to this, and it really shakes me. If it's TV can do that, then theater can counteract it, and I would like to create this antidote. Of course, you can't compare the audiences, but it's, you know, whatever you have. Some people draw with a small brush, and some people draw with a spray paint. It's not better or worse, it's just different ways of making world a better place. You can't make the whole world a better place, but at least you can tidy your room. So if you're making little labels for matchboxes, it's not like you're making big posters. It's like when you're talking in terms of moon, earth, sun and all that. Anyway, this scale is much bigger than you're painting, than any other TV channel, but you can focus on this matchbox label or a small portrait, you know, this cameo brooch. From time to time I go to the consignment store, and the closer is my wife's birthday, I go to the store hoping to see something interesting, and there is a great number of those brooches, and maybe all these women are gone, and their children brought these cameos in this store. For some reason there are lots of them in these stores, as if all these grandmothers who die and their children bring these cameos brooches to the store, and it's a rare thing. They're beautiful. So make cameo brooch and the world will be better. I will give you the secret. So if even nobody will see it, you make it, bomb hits it, it is destroyed, you're gone, but the world will be better. Because you're not doing it for a person, you're doing it for the space. You do it for truth. So there is evil and there is non-evil. So if you made a cameo, then the world is better. And you say, yes, of course I'm hurt, but for me it's important to make a cameo. If we can actually compare what I do with this divine little relief cameo. If they shut down my show, they shut down my show, but I can't really do much about it. Of course, I want to get a lot of money for this show, and I want to get a yacht and deserted island and 50 lovers, I don't know, and sauna. Actually, I want to come to rehearsals and I want to make these cameo brooches. So if you like it, buy it, wear it. If you don't like it, leave it here. Do you think that this story about these women who lose their children and they're less and less emotional about it. Don't you think that's a genetic story? From the beginning of the 20th century, Russian women, they lost their children and husbands. You know, when they talk about this genetic obedience of the Russian people, something within me gets really rebellious against that, and something horrifies me because it seems like truth. Something within me protests it. I don't want to believe it, and I never believed it. Yet this country is a country of serfdom, of slaves, and all the Soviet Union was destroying everybody who was kind of sticking out. You stick out, they kill you. So we either buy you and you will be this prison camp bitch, or we will destroy you. You know, like there is this experiment, 10 rats, they throw them food, all of them they try to fetch it, but then they were electrocuted. One rat was removed, they put a new one, also threw the food, 9 didn't catch the food, all these 9 caught the one that was new, so electrocuted again, then removed the rat. And they got to the point when none of the rats know that they will be electrocuted, and none of them grabs the food. So somehow they transmit the information. It's a very highly developed animal, and in some ways even more developed than a human being. They transmit this information. What people can transmit. What is transmitted? How Peter the Great shaved everyone, then chastised everyone, then put everybody on and fuck this, fuck that, and that's it. So, excuse me, but what information can be transmitted? I counted that this is the 5th generation of Russian women living without men now. Whether they go to the front or they left the country. Do you remember the Chechen War? And mothers, they went to the front line and they were trying to get their children from Chechens, and Chechens would give their children back to these mothers. And now what? Mothers say go? Half of the young people I know, they're in confrontation with their parents. Seems like something got spoiled. Somebody has to correct it. It's a failure of human program. They used to tell us that in fairy tales, horrible evil is crunching, munching evil will be defeated by good when it comes. But in life it turns out differently. Evil wins. In fairy tales, it's the same thing. Russian fairy tales that you were going to do in Flamenco Theater, right? It started with this fairy tale called Licha, evil spirit. Once upon a time, there was a man. He heard there is this licha. He never saw it. He was curious. He decided to find it. He went to the forest. He sees this log house with dead people's heads on the sticks, and licha caught him and beat him up and fed him with human flesh. He ran away to the forest. Licha is blind and following him. His hand got stuck in the tree. Licha is after him. He sees this silver hatchet in the tree. He started chopping off his hand. And he chopped it off. He left his hand in the tree. He ran in his house, bleeding out, and he screamed, "So great, I saw Licha." This is Russian folk fairy tale. This is a self-portrait of today. Everybody today saw Licha, and they keep watching it, and they chopped off their hands. Maybe it's enough. Maybe just flip the page and start a different fairy tale. Maybe the one that's called At the Pike's Behest. It's a stupid one, but at least without murders. Just a different fairy tale. Or a fairy tale like somebody is marrying someone. There are these fairy tales. They're absurd, but without perversions. At least. So just flip the page. And there is this fairy tale, it's called Kolobok, roly-poly. It's a horrible one. Do you remember how she baked this roly-poly? She used dust from the shells and breast milk. And there's this other one, golden egg fairy tale. Have you read the original? Well, tell me. This is how it goes. A hen laid an egg, a golden egg. Then mouse came, waved its tail, and broke the golden egg. And then, this is what follows. A priest came, tore apart all the books. Ballerina came, broke all the bells. Somebody else came, broke everything. When people see that there is a horrible thing that happened, the golden egg is broken, people just destroy everything around them. Nothing is left, and that's the end of the fairy tale. But what about the new egg? No new. That's like version for children. No, nothing. So everything is just screwed up, and everything is killed, and that's it. What kind of show you were supposed to have? No, I didn't want to do this golden egg fairy tale. Licha was enough. But that's about us. Our grandparents made up these fairy tales about themselves. And this fairy tale about this girl that picked up a lot of berries and her friends killed her for this. And then a reed grew on the place where she was killed, and her brother came and made a flute from this reed. And that's it. Theater is one of the quickest ways to respond to what's going on. It just seems like that. In order to deploy it, it takes months. It's not like you came and started rehearsing. First of all, you need to choose what, then you need to get actors for that, then you need to get money for this. Because time actually flies, and moods change, and theater is here and now, and those people who come to see it, they don't care that it took me a year to prepare it, so it should be valid today. When you did Alexievich's book, was it a sort of rebellion on your side? It was 1986, and they eased laws. But when my father wanted to do Chervinsky's play, Leningrad Citizen, and one of the characters in that play was a KGB officer, and they didn't let him do it. They called him to have a talk in KGB, or maybe they even talked to him in the car. And when he came back from this meeting, I never saw him like that, as if he saw something disgusting and scary. This is after talking to them. I only remember how he was telling me how he said to them that, you know, people change and they look at your organization differently. And he said that one of those officers kind of shook his head and said, "It will never happen." My father was absolutely depressed after this. When do you think things went wrong? And all these good changes in Russia during Perestroika turned out to be impotent. Did you think about what you could have done? No, I don't think about it. I think about what I could do tonight or could do tomorrow in order to continue doing what I'm doing. This is what I'm thinking about. But what, when somebody or me did, I just don't think in these terms. Otherwise, you'll have only fears and regrets, but I don't want to think about the past like that. It's really hard, and it has no prospects. Don't you think that culture turned out to be kind of invalid? Because all the books, all the shows, everything didn't change anything in those people who dehumanize themselves, then actually get educated. No, I don't think so. In fact, I wouldn't argue with you if we didn't have camera here. And it's not because I disrespect you and you're not worth arguing with. No, it's just there are so many different opinions on that. So if you really thought so, then if it helps you, then fine. If it doesn't, fine too. It doesn't help me because I do art every day and I think about it every day. And if I think that things that I'm doing now are invalid, then I shouldn't be doing it. But I can't do anything else and I don't want to do anything else. And then what's the point? Point of the conclusions. And when you say invalid, what does it mean invalid? So Leo Tolstoy existed, so it's invalid? So it's everything he wrote is invalid because this war is going on, that people agree with this war. So, and this is Leo Tolstoy's fault, and Bulgakov has nothing to do with it, Platonov has nothing to do with this, Mandelstam has nothing to do with it. Artists, they do their thing, and that's just for the sake of it. So this murderer, Chikatilo, this maniac, so he read these books, but it didn't impact him. There are so many people born in the world and live, maybe half of them, or big part of them, they're probably built in such a way that nothing affects them, neither Tolstoy nor anybody else. It doesn't make them better. They're just doing other things. I was in Riga. We had a rehearsal, then we got lost at some point walking in the city, and we caught a cab. And I told the driver the address of the theater, and I asked him if he knows the theater, and he said he never been to one. And I said, it's a good theater, and he said, well, I don't go to theater. I was kind of in a good mood to argue with him, and I said, well, you know, it's a very good theater, so if your friend told you, listen, driver, go and see a show there, and then the driver says to me, I don't have such friends. And we parted with him, and we didn't find a common ground. It kind of didn't get to him, and he simply doesn't need it. And what can I do? Is Director Herman guilty that there is this young driver in his city that doesn't give a damn about his theater? Or is it his fault? Is it my fault? No, it's just how he is, this guy. So rat is a rat. So what are you going to explain to the rat? That a squirrel has this fluffy tail and the rat doesn't? Like running around with this ugly tail? And the rat wouldn't believe you, because the rat is a rat. Do you remember Brodsky's main statement of his Nobel Prize lecture? He said that for aesthetics is the mother of ethics. But not for everyone. Some people don't care about aesthetics and ethics. And there's a great number of people. And sometimes they're in politics. I'm more interested in what to do at this time, when it seems that you shouldn't do it, because every cell, everything is filled with some other world, other interests, other excitement. So then what theater is supposed to be, what literature is supposed to be? When I think about theater, what it should be. what you should do, what is not shameful to do, what some people will need. Let it be a small group of people, and maybe in comparison to this driver, they'll go to theater, and those who go to theater, it's a small group of people. When I came to Vasiliev long ago, and I wanted to offer him my show, that I can do a show in his theater, so I brought my Hamlet show to his theater, and he said yes. He showed me his theater, his stage, and I asked him, how many seats you have in the audience? He said 48. And I asked him, is it possible to add more chairs there, maybe some pillows on the floor? But then he said to me, you know, when you have only 48 seats and they're all filled, and somebody didn't manage to get a ticket to get in, so I think it's enough. And since then, I quite often remember what he says, and it's enough. There is a small number of people who are interested in theater, who needs that, and even those who love theater, they always criticize and say this and this bad, and I saw this somewhere. But frankly, it's a small group of people, and theater is for them. But not even for them, it's for history, really. Yes. Of course for them, but through them somewhere else. It should dissolve in that room, get stuck on the walls, so that the next generation would be scraping it from the walls and spreading it on the bread. Otherwise, why? Then you're doing it just for yourself, in between the living people. But it's not just with living people, it's through you're coming to my theater, I'm alive and you're alive. And there is something bigger happening. It's a connection between this and that. It's like a link in the chain. Only when you look at it like this, it makes sense. I asked you about this book, The Unwomanly Face of the War, Alexeyevich's book. So it was an attempt of new conversation about the war. And now when you're talking about theater, what it should be and what literature should be, it really seems that things should change. But in what direction? I'm thinking about it, but I don't know. I only know that sincerity and poignancy of literature and art should change. When I recall some of my shows, I'm thinking that I shouldn't be doing them the same way today, in terms of the poignancy of them. It should be, it's like you're cutting yourself with this art. It's like Guernica. It's a completely new art. First of all, it's new art, great art. It's very beautiful. It's divinely beautiful. Though there is no swastika there that would identify Nazis. Nazis, they burned down a village, and you could have put a swastika on a horse, but it would be weaker. It's a big question, really. So if you take away swastika from Cabaret movie, it would be worse for the movie. But if you add it to Guernica, it'll spoil the picture. So where is this political reporting language? How to do it? Of course, you need to relate it to some of your feelings, but it's very interesting, though. It's like you want to cry, or how to put it better, you kind of want to spit it out. But you have to handle yourself. You have to do it differently. At least myself. This is when I think about myself. It's not my style. It's not my style. I don't want to do it this way. I don't want to switch to this political journalism. It's not my piece of cake.
Чем вам нравится Америка?
What do you like about America? I like all this. For some reason, the countries I visited, it felt a bit tight. For example, like in France. Here, it's literally nobody cares what you do. I can take off my pants and walk around in my underwear. You'll be the only one surprised. Nobody else. You can do whatever, and you can see whatever here, and nobody's staring at you that you're kind of different. I don't like crowds, and the older I get, the less I like it. But here, even in the crowd, I feel nice. When I go to a store, I walk through a crowd. When I walk on Broadway, a lot of people. That's fine. But what's wrong with Europe then? Where it's too tight. The French, they're kind of a bit too good, and I feel a bit inferior, but here it's fine. No one cares. I feel how they feel, how good they feel. If you choose a place in the world where you'd like to work, what place would it be? It would be Moscow. That Moscow that I left the day before the war. Well, this is what I dream about. Here, in terms of theater, it's a virgin land. I would like to do something here that people would come, see it, and would like to see more of it. And then I would have this drive that people needed. So far, I go on with kind of excitement, so to speak, my own enthusiasm. Well, excitement not to die, right? So what are you gonna do here? I'm gonna do Eugene Onegin. That's great, cool. It doesn't matter what I am going to direct, but you should have asked me where. So where? We announced founding my lab, and it's called Krymov Lab NYC. One woman gave us $400. She saw my shows. She's a friend of our friend, now she's our friend. So this $400 will pay for 10 rehearsals, 4 hours each. And we rent a place, space, $10 an hour. Right now we're kind of roaming around the city. It's the third space over the last few days. Actors don't get any pay. I kind of waved and say, who would like to work with me for free? And the same with the designers, and the same with the sound engineers. And producers, the same thing, and translator, and costume designer, the same. I think we have about 15 people and staff, and with actors it is 20. For some reason they come and they rehearse, doesn't matter what, but I had auditions with them, and Russian actors, no, Americans, all of them. I asked them, would you like to see my show Kostik? Maria Rybakina called me up today. She said that it's either we have to shut down your show or we need to remove your name from the poster. I said, yes, remove the name, I said. And because the week before that, Konstantin Khabensky from the Moscow Theater called me up about Serezha in the Moscow. So I said, of course, take off my name from the poster and do the show, because everybody knows anyway. Well, so I showed my American actors, I showed them my Kostik show, those ones that I auditioned, and I was so happy, such a great feeling. There is no difference, because I was saying, we want to do it this way, let's do it this way, it's so great. It's unbelievable, they don't get anything from me, no money, nothing, not a penny, and they come to work with me. One guy came from Los Angeles, another one from the UK. It's crazy. We're used to... Okay, whatever. Okay, what are you used to? We're used to looking for reasons, but here a lot of people who just do it. Great designers, they know where to go, where to find things. They're very responsible, they do stuff. Such an amazing puppetry designer. She's Japanese, incredibly beautiful. She always sits in the rehearsals and doing something, and she asked me if she can do that, and she does it at home, and she brings it to the rehearsals. She brings with these huge bags. She comes with those huge bags, and she leaves with those bags, because we can't leave anything in those spaces we rent. So we don't have Russian actors. No, I have one. It's a Russian actress. I liked her. I saw her in some show. But frankly, it's very hard to do something when you don't know anyone. Of course, I was very nervous when I was coming for the first rehearsal. What about now? I come to my people. They're like family now. Third rehearsal. When are you going to have the opening? In December. It's not like a big show, because we don't have money to do a super set. I want to find such a style that the sketch would be the style, like in Tretyakov Gallery, when you see the appearance of Christ before the people. Ivanov sketches to this painting, or Repin's ceremonial meeting of the State Council. This sketchiness is a style. And then maybe Vrubel, he drew these huge paintings. So there was such a time that they were like making such big paintings. Do you feel here this Russian culture cancelling? I came here when the war just began, and I was going to do a show here, and back then I felt something unpleasant that were happening because of this group fear. In this regard, they're afraid of being different. We did a set for my show in Russia, in St. Petersburg, in a very good workshop. They charged us 5 times less than any other workshop, and it was very difficult to make that set. It was quite technological. We had to ship it here, so we did. We brought it here. We found the money. So finally, we delivered it to Philadelphia Theater, and on that date, the theater learned that Metropolitan Theater did the same thing at the Bolshoi Theater in Moscow, and they canceled their order, and they said, so don't even unpack it, we'll send it back. So that's the set that's supposed to be on stage tomorrow, and the opening is in a week, and it was quite scary. So thank God it didn't happen, but I saw that it could have happened just like that. But what about personal level? No. No. Of course not. Well, in other words, there are idiots, and there are idiots who refer to certain mindsets, and there are many of them, but I just don't meet them. Actors? Goodness. No, with them, no. Today we watched Chekhov, in my interpretation. Every day they do Tatiana, Larina, and Eugene Onegin, or Lensky, or Pushkin. No, they're very interested in all this. Maybe because we're far from Russia, maybe closer, it's different. It's not they're against it or not, I mean Russian culture, they simply don't know about Pushkin. My task is to make Pushkin and show them how beautiful this novel is, and explain it now. I told them this story, so just imagine this situation when you guys in America had Pearl Harbor at the beginning of World War II, when Japanese attacked you, and you sent all of them out from America, and right at that time, 4 Japanese in America brought people together and decided to explain to them how beautiful haiku is. And you are now in the same situation. We're telling people about Eugene Onegin, where Russian culture may be kind of cancelled or something like that. So what degree of despair you have? So this is the poignancy of this moment. This is what I want to achieve. I don't know if it's gonna work or not. I didn't have anything like that in Moscow. And in Moscow it was very different. But here, this is what I'm aiming at. Russian art cannot live in vacuum. How culture will be penetrating abroad and from abroad to Russia? I've been thinking about it and I can share it with you. I think that Russian culture cannot fully live abroad. For this, it needs soil, to grow from the soils, and when you walk, you can feel who is there under your feet, many layers down. Nobody has it here. Nobody had it here. Neither Brodsky nor Nabokov. But if a person is strong enough already in Russia, back at home, so to speak, and then he left, and he is working abroad, like Bunin, like Ivan Bunin. Somebody helped him, gave him house in Graz, and he wrote many stories. We don't even remember where he wrote Dark Avenues, and nobody knows about him in France. Nobody knows about Brodsky here when he was living here. Nobody. These are very Russian things. But then, during their lifetime or after their death, their works are transported home. They kind of automatically enter the soil. I don't want to compare it with a rocket, but let's say it's like a bow arrow. It flies like that and hits the ground, and Bunin's works, and Nabokov's works, and Brodsky's, those great immigrants, they kind of come back home with their works, and then it dissolves in that soil, and then people who write prose or poetry, and they just perceive it as their own, as their heritage. But it was written abroad. Stanislavski wrote My Life and Art in New York, in America, in a hotel, and it actually means something only to his biography. It seems like a person lives somehow like in a cosmos, in altitude chamber. It's convenient or not, but for an artist it's like that. No matter how much Brodsky wrote about Hudson River and whatever American topic he would take, he wrote it in connection with Vasiliev Island, with Neva River, with St. Petersburg, with some wrinkled bed sheets there in Russia. Maybe it's a mission. If you can do something here, do it. It will be useful back home. And when it comes back home, it's going to be this great soup where all your favorites will be in. And when I wrote it down on a piece of paper, then I realized, so why are you asking yourself why? So just do it. But if you're not a person of arts or culture, if you're an engineer, I don't know. I have never been an IT engineer, I don't know. Do you understand Baryshnikov, Brodsky a bit better, Davlatov, and other guys who left Russia and started a new life here?
Ну, я по-прежнему, только уже зная, о чем речь, я ужасаюсь их решению.
I'm still horrified,
Хотя им было, наверное,
knowing what happened. I know what it cost them.
Не знаю, в
And I
общем,
think for them it was even
это очень
more
трудный
difficult.
шаг. Наверное, лучше, потому что
It's a
практически...
very
Ну, слушайте,
difficult
когда
step to
вот,
make. Maybe I
мне
understand them
не
better.
14 лет, но когда я
I'm not 14,
не знаю, как куда-то пройти, как
but
спросить в метро.
here, when I don't know how to ask directions, how to go to the subway. I remember how I didn't know how to buy a ticket on the subway. And I was like, damn. I don't take subway in Moscow, I drive a car, and here it's subway, and it's quite exhausting because it takes you an hour and you walk up and down stairs, but also I don't know how to buy a ticket. Nobody gives you rookie training how to do it. So how to buy a ticket is like this, the internet is like that. You kind of live a bit scared. You look in your mailbox and all these bills come and you don't know what to do with them. Should I pay with them or should I not? Maybe everything is paid already. So what all this means? What does it mean? This world here, this world that is so good for the locals because they can wear shorts when it's cold outside. Do you believe that the war will be over in your lifetime? Yes, it will. It will end very soon. Everything will change very soon. I'm confident. Did you hear a voice? No, I'm not going to tell you that, but it's intuition. The question is what these people will do who were doing all these terrible things, and where are they going to go? Because you can't really kick them out of the country. What are they going to say? So, forgive us? I don't understand that. But it's not going to last long. Is that true that when Pope John Paul II was shown the portrait that you drew, and he kind of comforted the cardinals who exclaimed, "Oh," he actually said in Latin, "It is I, don't be afraid." How did you draw his picture? I had his photographs and I drew the painting, his portrait. You knew him? No, I met him. So actually, I think that many people draw portraits of the Pope, but they don't know him. But I decided to meet him. So how did it happen? I'm very stubborn, you know, when I want to get something. It's a long story. It's a long story. Did you like him? Did you like him? Very much. And it's not even that. I saw a holy man. It was clear. And don't ask me how I could tell it. It was just clear. He said, "It is I, don't be afraid," so they translated it for me. And then I learned that this is Christ's phrase when he met two apostles in Emmaus after the crucifixion. They didn't recognize him. He moved his hat, they got scared, and he said, "It is I, don't be afraid." And after that they had a meal in Emmaus. Okay, so I left from Moscow, a year passed. The Pope died, and I decided to make a gift for Cardinal Kondrasevich. So I took a picture of the portrait back then, and I printed it out and decided to give it to him as a gift. I came, he's not there, he went to the funeral, he's going to be there on Friday, so I'm late for the Mass on Friday, so I'm sitting with that portrait on the back pew and waiting for the Mass. And the Mass has two parts. One person from the parish goes to the podium, opens the Bible, and reads some words from the scripture. So a person comes to the podium, opens the Bible, and reads from the scripture. And he reads the words, "It is I, don't be afraid." I'm sitting there holding the portrait there on the back pew and thinking, damn, what's going on? Do you believe in afterlife? Yes, in some way, yes. If I didn't believe that. Of course I do. But then what do you call life? I don't know the form of that life. Who is your favorite artist? Raphael. When you see a Raphael painting, it helps you live, right? If you love his paintings. It improves your mood, gives you some tenderness, some incredible harmony, shows you that it's possible to draw such a beautiful woman. It's possible. Actually, my favorite paintings, there are only men in them. So it's possible to draw such men. So what painting? It's a story, maybe he made it up himself. It's between Jesus Christ was taken off the cross and put to the coffin. So it's an incredible green color in that painting. So green color he gave me. He gave me this incredible pain. Is he alive for you? I mean, Raphael. So yes. So then what's the question? So he died, but the art is a way of transmitting life after the death. That bison that they drew on the rock in a cave, this is somebody who passed their life to us. Van Gogh transmitted his flowers to us, his pain to us. So the other one transmitted his old ladies, the other one these white collars. Leonardo, this lady with an ermine. So this is how the great artists do. If you do your art without this purpose, so it's not art, so it's type of art, but this is something that you can put on the wall above your couch. So it's design. But art is spiritual. It's from the soul. What kind of question is that? Is there life after death? So when you go to the museum and you see this life after death. You absorb it. Besides, it's not necessary to draw religious stories. Sternberg used to draw a glass and herring on the table, but what he transmitted, tenderness. Tenderness can live even when you don't have anything to eat. It's like on the wrinkled paper, you have all this. It's so tender, and this tenderness cannot be killed in St. Petersburg of 1918. If Sternberg is called tenderness, just like Modigliani, the same thing, they're all called tenderness. They're archangels of the same goddess, which is called tenderness, mercy or justice, mercy. Choose freedom or stability. And here I don't know. May I not choose here? I don't want to. Truth or safety? Truth, sadly. Motherland or truth? Truth, of course. And actually prove that right now. What are you going to do after the war ends? I hope that immediately I'll have a phone call from Fomenko Theater or from the Moscow Theater and from Pushkin Theater, where I started doing shows, and they will require that I send them schedule with a rehearsal schedule so that we continue the work. God willing. Thank you very much. Let's have a drink.